Hello, here we are on day one of getting started. Please don't just think, well, I did mention to them I'm going to go ahead with a divorce 6 months ago, and I'll fill in the draft and I'll send it off to them, and so they can just see what that is happening. And they, out of the blue, receive this form. And that can be a bit of a shock. And so right at the beginning, this is a big mistake that a lot of people make.
What you want to do is decide initially who is going to be the one who's making the application. Now, in theory, absolutely, you could both do it as sole applicants, and where everything is absolutely 100% agreed and everything's going to go smoothly, that's a wonderful option that's now available. However, for many people, they find that when they're getting divorced, things aren't that great between them. And so in those cases, I would suggest that one person is the applicant and the other person is the respondent. This is usually because one person is prepared to push this through to the end and make sure it happens, and the other person might be less helpful, shall we say, in the process. So if your ex, even if they're saying, I'll do the application, if they're not great at admin, and even with the best will in the world, they're just likely to dilly-dally about, it might be a good idea for you to be the one who does it. So you be the applicant and they would be the respondent. Now, the other thing to watch out for is, yes, you have to pay when you've got to sit there with your marriage certificate and with your credit card or Visa card in order to do the online application, which is really simple to do, especially now since it's all been updated and improved. Thank goodness, getting rid of the whole fault-based divorce thing. However, you might think, I don't want to pay, it's under £600 at the time of this recording, but it's just a lot of money for a bit of online admin. But hey, you could decide to say, they should, in the application, the other person should pay for half of it. You could have a really good fight right at the beginning. But I really would recommend that you don't, that you just simply take the hit. If they're not willing to cover the cost with you at that point, you can always include it in the financials of money owed, however you want to do it. But try not to get into a fight over a few £100 right at the beginning of the process, especially if you've also got assets to split and child, co-parenting to organise. It's just not worth it.
So the next stage, that's where there can be a few hiccups sometimes, but we'll talk about when we get there. So just to round off with this first stage, it should go really smoothly if everything's friendly and amicable between you. If it's starting to already not be such a mutual decision, then you may want to get some extra help. It could be simply sitting down with a counsellor or a relationship coach just to talk about what's happening now, because talking about divorce and actually doing it has a massive emotional impact on people, which can come as a bit of a shock actually. So if you can sit and talk with a third party who's independent and trained, that can just help both of you to feel heard, to make a decision that yes, you are going forwards with this and that you're going to make it as straightforward and amicable as possible. You may even need to bring in a mediator if you start to have disagreements about how you're going to split the finances, for example, or how it's going to work with the kids. But that's okay, all fine, because those people exist and you're still managing this divorce. You're still in charge. It's still DIY. But don't be afraid to get in help when you need it, because that way you've got a hand on the steering, on the rudder, you're steering the ship, and you are making sure it goes in the direction that you want it to go in.